Hey guys, this is Orsi and this is my new setup. So hopefully this works because yeah, it should. The test video was good. So in this video it's gonna be my experience with the Spacious Tarot, which is by these are the surnames of the people who created the deck. I will check the guidebook in just a second. With the Spacious Tarot, as a monthly experience, because I used it in March, right? What is it? Is it April? Yes. So I used it in March, but then I started reorganizing my room, so I couldn't film the video when the month was over, which, trust me, annoyed me more than I expected. So it's Carrie Mellon and Annie Ruikt. Oh God, Ruikt. Yeah. So them. I'm sorry. I'm really bad at pronouncing names. And what I did with this deck is pulling one card each for a daily read. This is what I do with the decks that I chose to study for this year. And on top of that, usually I have more time to completely go through the guidebook. I did not have that time, unfortunately, but I got what I wanted out of this, 1 month with the deck. I had the cards in front of me each day, and I was able to decide if I wanted to keep the deck or not, because that was a question going into this deck study. Because even though I really like how it looks, it's an absolute gorgeous deck, and I have a few cards to show separately. It's a gorgeous deck. It's a simple but not without meaning system or illustration style that have, like, look at that Nine of Swords. It's completely, everything is there what you need from a card like that, like the Ace of Pentacles. So it's a very simplistic, but in a good way, deck. But also it's something that you can do if you do pathworking, which I don't. One of my favorite, hang on, sitting on the moon. So I wasn't sure, if I just keep holding on to this deck because it's pretty, because this was my first indie deck, and it's harder to let go, or if it's because this is an actual deck that I'm drawn to use, is if it's actually something that I want to keep in my collection. And interestingly, and that's why a month it seems long enough. The first time I started using the deck, I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Like I should keep it. It's really cool. I like the illustrations. Like, why not? I can keep a deck just for how pretty it is, which is true, by the way. I'm not mocking myself here. But then a week or a week and a half went by, and I was like, oh, but I'm not getting anything out of it extra, from the cards. When I looked at it, okay, obviously not something like that, but I don't know, like the Elder of Cups, for example. I was like, but I'm not really getting enough or more out of it than the usual basic meanings. And not because the cards are not like that, but because when I look at it, there was nothing, really. Nothing was switching on, which usually happens with cards when I read. So I was, in the middle of the month, I was like, okay, I'm ready to let this one go. I was checking the meanings of the cards each day. So even though I didn't have time to fully read through everything that I wanted, I think I read through the majors though, but I was, checking the description for each card each day. So at least I knew how the guidebook was responding to the cards. I still had no time to listen to the audio that I purchased back then, where the creators are explaining what they did with the cards, which I know it's just, I should, but I just simply didn't have time. One day. But like I said, in the middle, I was like, okay, I'm ready to let this one go. But then in the last week, something changed, and things started to happen, and I got more intuitive hits with this deck than before. So by the time the month was up, I was like, you know what? It's okay. I'm gonna keep this deck because it's actually a good one. So, I mean, for me, oh god, yeah, I still need to get used to this space because I'm sitting sideways, which is not very comfortable, but at least I have a space to film. So, yeah, I'm gonna just put this one aside. I'm gonna show you a few cards. I didn't use an oracle with it this month because I was doing the Wanderers Tarot Challenge on Instagram as well, where I used the Ostera Tarot, which was another one, you know, like I spent a month with, so I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna do a video about that one as well, even though that wasn't specifically for studying the deck. I mean, you know, the time set up. So no favorite pairings with this deck yet. Once I'm going through my collection, because I'm decluttering very heavily right now, I just feel like it's time to let, you know, decks that I'm just putting on the shelf for years now, to work with it later, to start with it later, because I don't have that much time. There's always new things that I actually like coming into my collection. I have old ones that I like using instead, so I'm decluttering. But once I'm done with that, I'm gonna start playing with pairs because that's also really fun, even with, you know, tarot decks and stuff like that. So I'm gonna have more videos about deck pairings in the future as well. But what I wanted to say is that what I started to see with this deck and what I need to study is color, because I pulled these two, I think, in this order for someone in a reading, and it kind of felt like that, you know, the Six of Cups is connected to the same, like obviously if you put it next to them, it's kind of like they are in the same realm, but for some reason when they were in this position, I kind of felt like more so a continuation, that the cards were asking the person to, you know, admit that something that you're wondering it might not be real, as in it belongs to the past, and you're in a position where you need to take a step forward and trust that where you're heading is going to be better than what you left behind. Because for some, you know, for a lot of people, and myself included sometimes, it's very, very hard not to think that your current condition, which is, you know, most of the time when you're pulling a Six of Cups, it's a good one, it's okay, but it's not the best. It's not the best you deserve, or the most you deserve. It's very hard to say that I'm gonna let this one go, because, you know, you start fretting that, oh, what if I let go of what I have now, which is not exactly what I want, but it's good enough? What if I will end up losing everything? And this is where you have to be brave and take that first step and, you know, start a new journey and trust that you deserve better, so better is gonna come. And stuff like that started happening with cards. You know, I started to see colors more clearly, or more, not clearly, because it's not like, oh, colors. What I mean is they were more noticeable for me with this deck than before when I used it, like the grays. And I absolutely loved this one because, you know, you are the rose in the middle, who doesn't have thorns, by the way. But I usually just looked at this card, or usually before I just looked at this card, and I was like, okay, this is like a fence, and you're defending yourself because, you know, Nine of Wands and whatever. But it kind of felt like in this reading especially that these are good and bad qualities, and these are the ones holding you up. These are the ones that creating who you are, and you should stand still and admit that these are my faults, these are my good qualities, and this is who I am, and I'm not letting anyone take that away from me. And you know, stuff like that started to happening. I started seeing more in the cards than I did before. So I decided that yes, I'm actually going to keep the deck, and since I'm keeping it, you know, I will have time to go properly through the guidebook and listen to the audio at some point when I'm, you know, done with the every deck study that I want to do this year. It shuffles really nicely. It's a really nice size, because you know I have small hands, so it matters. It reverse shuffles well as well, even though it's a bit more rigid, and I don't have strong hands, so it's not easy for me to reverse shuffle it. But if I want, really want, I can. And like I said, I'm sitting in an awkward position, so that's part of it. But you know, let's pull a card for you guys, because you're listening to me right now. And look at that, we have the Six of Wands. So yes, I think it's a victory, all in all. So I just, from this month, I got out more so than wanting to keep a deck. It's just, it was a good feedback to know that working with a deck like this, like daily pulls, is a good idea for me, that it's working. I can connect or get to know a deck better. And by the way, I'm not pulling a card each day and say that, for example, oh, it's the Ten of Wands, and today I will have a lot of responsibilities and I will, you know, take on other people's drama. It's not necessarily, it's something that obviously in my mind, but I'm more so trying, if I'm, you know, if I don't meet with the energy or the meaning of the card during the day, what I do is I contemplate on what it means. That, you know, when I'm traveling, when I'm sitting on a public transportation, I just think about what the Ten of Wands means to me at this current moment of time. And that allowed me to more easily and more freely connect with the decks that I worked with so far. So I think that this is how daily pulls work for me. It doesn't have to be for everybody, but just, you know, just in case. But yeah, I think this is all that I wanted to say about this one. So it's a keeper after all, and I will definitely spend more time with it. It's not something that now I know it works perfectly and I can put it away. It needs more studying, but it was a good first step. So I hope this was useful. Please do let me know if you have the deck. Oh, before I forget, I think what bothers me is that I edged it pink back then, and I don't like this pink anymore on it. It's too much pink. I can't explain it, but these are the, I don't know if you can see, like there are dots, but these green dots on the back is something that I keep thinking about, that I should have edged the deck in that green. So I'm very much thinking about chopping off, you know, just a slither of the card, so I can get rid of the color and recoloring it, because it kind of bothers me, this pink. I can't explain it, but you know, this is what it is. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. Hope you like the video. Like I said, hope this was useful, and see you in the next one. Bye.